Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the Health and Human Service and Aging Committee, Wednesday, December 3rd, and it's currently 1:09. Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. As a reminder to all in attendance, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the county's YouTube page. Calling the roll, Ms. Conwell,
Present.
Mr. Sweeney,
Present.
Mr. Castleberry.
Here.
Mr. Hauser is absent at the moment. Mr. Schlepper.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Right, thank you. Anyone signed in for public comment, Madam Clerk?
No public comment has been received.
Approval of the minutes from the November 19th, 2025 meeting. Can I have a motion and a second?
So moved. Second.
All right, moved by Schlepper and seconded by Castleberry. I heard Castleberry, I'm sorry.
And for the record, Councilman Hauser is in attendance.
All right, welcome, Councilman Hauser. Just on time, we waited for you.
Man, am I.
All right. Madam Clerk, there are
Going with the
several
future.
items referred to the committee today. Can you read the first item into record, please?
Resolution 2025-0340, authorizing an amendment to a master contract with various providers for various programs and resources for the Cuyahoga County Fatherhood Initiative for the period April 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2025, to extend the time period to March 31st, 2027, to amend the terms and for additional funds in the total amount not to exceed $971,812.50. And it's effective January 1st, 2026 for the various providers 1 through 11.
All right, welcome, Administrator Merriman.
Good afternoon, David Merriman here on behalf of the Department of Health and Human Services. I do want to just thank the visitors that have joined us today. I know Al Grimes will do the presentation of the fatherhood item, but we have leadership. Julie Johnson is here from the Hunger Network, as well as leadership from United Way and the Food Bank. And then I also know that Natasha Petricola wanted to be here to present the CSSP contract, has a conflict, and so Daphne James is here. Last point I want to just make, I do understand there might have been some slight revisions with the providers. I want to acknowledge and thank them for their patience. Many of these contracts were introduced prior to the start of the budget process. At times, there are adjustments in the budget process, and then we have to go back and do some negotiations after the fact. I don't know if that's the case with any of these today, but I know our providers are very good partners as we do negotiations, and as we want to make sure that we have as many contracts that start early next year, done this year, and we're ready to go. So with that said, I'm just going to bring up Marcos Cortez, and then we'll start of the three presentations. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Marcos Cortez with Health and Human Services on behalf of the Fatherhood Program. This is the first amendment to the Fatherhood Master Services Contract, which is, again, extends the time to March 31st, 2027, and adds the additional funding of $971,812.50. To cover that time frame, there are no changes to the scope or to the vendors. The Fatherhood Program seeks to provide fathers with resources and services to assist them in the emotional and financial needs of their children. We do have Aldanis Grimes here, the director of the Fatherhood Program, who can answer any specific questions regarding the program itself.
All right, Mr. Cortez, so the time period was extended.
Yep.
So it now will cover budget cycle 26 and 27?
Well, part of 27, so this goes through March of 2027.
Okay. Okay.
So we did that at the request to make sure that we weren't late and we were able to pay invoices through when the contracts close and open again at the beginning of the year.
So that's roughly a 15-month contract?
Yes.
Okay. As I know, I asked for that. Are all the contracts, side note, all up to the 15-month now?
We only did the master services contracts.
All of them?
Yes.
Throughout
If we
HH.
haven't done them, they will be in whatever next amendment, we would extend them.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so you're doing them as they go?
Yes.
Okay. And that'll be for all of HHS?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Mr. Grimes, if you'd like to share anything, and thank you for coming down. It's always great to see a director.
Thank you so much. Yeah, as Mr. Merriman said, our goal is to make.
Mr. Grimes, if you could state your name for the record,
Oh, yeah, I'm
please.
sorry. Al Grimes, administrator of the Cuyahoga County Fatherhood Initiative. And we encourage fathers to stay involved in their children's lives by providing programs that help them be there for their children, both financially and emotionally. The second thing we try to do is make sure when fathers come to the county for services, they're treated in a father-friendly manner. And then we also celebrate healthy father-child relationships by our annual fatherhood conference and some other things that we do within the community, like the Fatherhood Greenhouse. We are a major supporter of the Grandparents' Day and Grandparents and Family Day. And we have a major initiative that serves 208 schools and 25,000 fathers. They're called the Fathers Walk to School program that we have every year in the fall. These amendments allow us to continue to serve fathers and families in Cuyahoga County in a much-needed and critical capacity. And our mission is to significantly increase the number of fathers who are involved in nurturing and raising their children. Research has shown that when fathers are involved, children are less likely to drop out of school, less likely to become incarcerated, less likely to use drugs, less likely to commit crimes, less likely to become teen parents. When fathers are involved, children live a more healthy and productive life. That's at the base of what we do, helping children grow up to live a positive, productive life. These are a variety of programs designed to assist fathers. They range from job training and placement programs to boot camp for new dads programs at 9 hospitals. They're ensuring the fathers stay in the academic lives of their children, to a supervised visitation and exchange program. And I always like to emphasize these programs are open to all fathers throughout the community, throughout Cuyahoga County. Wealthy fathers, poor fathers, white fathers, black fathers. Our programs extend to everyone who wants to be a better dad in the county. And I can entertain any questions that you might have.
Director, just wondering about reentry.
Yes.
So there's a lot of dads that are away for some period from their children. Which one addresses that?
We have 3 of our job training and placement programs address reentry towards employment. We deal with a lot of previously incarcerated parents, fathers, as well as our Passages program. So that's a key part of each of the programs, is making sure that when fathers come home from reentry, they get reconnected with their families. Obviously, we want them to stay connected when they're incarcerated, but on the other hand, we want to make sure that there are jobs available, housing available, and a lot of times we're giving or assisting in legal advice as to how to get back in society, how you can be a co-parent, if you will, and going through juvenile court or domestic court.
The first one with career development, that's reentry too?
Yes, they're all handle reentry issues.
Okay, and then you mentioned Grandparents' Day, but I don't.
It's not one of our funded programs, but we have been with the founders of the Grandparents' Day, which is Brick City Productions, since they started it. As a matter of fact, I've been one of the MCs of the program, so we just help support that particular program in the community. Now, the programs that we fund in the community, we do fund the annual Fatherhood Conference. We also fund, the expenses associated with the Fathers Walk to School program. But I just mentioned that because we've been an integral part of helping them get up and running for the last 4 or 5 years, along with our Department of Senior and Adult Services.
I'm just wondering, I think the Grandparents' Day initiative has been going on probably over 5 years now.
It's 10. Matter of fact,
10
yeah,
is-
this year they're celebrating their 10th year. As a matter of fact, council gave them some assistance last year. Councilwoman Meredith Turner gave them some grants, a grant to help sustain the program, and working with Louis Moore and the rest of that organization, it helped out a lot in having a successful program this year.
Right, I was also one of the supporters of that. Just wondering, since it's been an integral part of our county and it's been very successful, the events that the years I've went, has it ever come up to bring them into the bidding process when the bids go for annual contract?
Absolutely. I think the last RFP we put out, we had, I want to say 14 to 15 bids, and we funded 11 organizations.
And share a little bit with us, Nueva Luz
Luz?
Urban.
Yeah.
What happens there?
That's a new program that we started. It's located on the west side, and they're called Fathers in the Ring. We have fathers and their children participate in healthy activities like martial arts, a boxing program. And then in addition to that, they have a preventive premature fatherhood piece of it, where they're talking about telling fathers about telling kids about not becoming a father until you're ready emotionally and financially. So it's a mixture of, giving advice on not becoming a dad and the exercise portion of the program. And that's the Nueva Luz. That's one of the new programs that started in April 1st of 2024.
I'll open up the floor to my colleagues for questions. Councilman Hauser.
Through the chair to Director Grimes. Director, I am familiar with the initiative and other great work you guys do. My question is, though, how are you guys measuring outcomes, and then how would this additional funding build upon the actual measurable outcomes you guys do have?
Well, each of the programs that we have goals and objectives that they each have. For the fatherhood initiative, for the workforce development program, each program has a goal of enrollments, placements, and graduations from the program. The same thing with the, let's say, the Boot Camp for New Dad program. They have a goal of having X amount of Boot Camp for New Dads classes in a year, and I think their goal is like 1,200 fathers per year, and they succeed those goals. So within the contract, there are goals and objectives that each program has to meet.
I appreciate that, Director, through the chair. If you can, I won't speak for the rest of the council. I haven't seen them, so if you can make sure that you share that with us so that we're aware, and could love to help partner. I'm sure the marketing you guys have down pat, so I think you're good to go with that. But if we can see some of the measurable outcomes, that'd be great. So I'm aware what's going on as well.
Yeah, and one of the things you can do is attach to the amendments or the evaluations.
Yeah.
And within the body of the evaluations,
Okay.
it'll mention what the objectives are and how well each organization has been doing against those objectives.
That's great. That's in this now, this packet?
It's in the amendments
Okay.
that are attached. In the evaluations that are attached to the amendments.
Appreciate it, Director. Thank you.
Councilman Schlepper.
Good afternoon, through the chair. Thank you, Director Grimes, for being
Thank
here.
you.
We appreciate you. I just had more of a, if you were to zoom out, just given your particular perspective, there's so many areas that you cover here. You're talking about family resiliency, wellness for dads and families, career pathways, programming for new dads. If there was an area of highest need that you could identify, or if you were to look at all the programming that you do and really kind of the area where there is the biggest need or the greatest need, what would you identify that as?
Wow. Yeah, obviously, job readiness is always key. But the other thing that we promote is getting knowledge out to not only fathers, but parents, how they can be engaged in their children's life from the beginning. So what do I mean by that? For example, the law in the state of Ohio states that if a child is born to unmarried parents, custody automatically goes to the mom, right? A lot of parents don't know that. They assume that because of the fact that they're the biological father and that they're paying child support, that they automatically have the same rights as the mom. Well, that's not true. And so right from the beginning, we have to educate them that in Ohio, if it's unmarried, then you need to go through juvenile court, establish your legal rights through juvenile court, work out a parenting plan to know, to have equal rights. The second thing is in education. We talk about our boot camp for new dads, for example. One of the factors that we found is that, for example, in Cuyahoga County, in terms of infant mortality, we have some issues that are higher than some other counties in the country, where a lot of people don't know about the ABCs of sleep. Sleep alone, on your back, and in the crib. And if we have to get that information across to mothers and fathers, because we only get this information across to the mothers, then when a child is at the father's house and they don't have a crib and they're doing something incorrect, then, that's an issue. So I guess the second thing is just educating the community on how they can be more involved in their children's life if they don't know. And one of the things that people all say, you don't know what you don't know. So it's just educating people about across all of the spectrums, if you will. Because I say all of the time, I tell dads all the time, there probably isn't a problem that's happened within the last 20 years involving parenting that we haven't had to deal with, from going to Hawaii and, bringing a child back who was taken out of the country illegally, to dealing with a lot of situations when the non-custodial parent suddenly died and the custodial parent suddenly died. The non-custodial parent now becomes a parent. Now they're working full-time, they need childcare. How do I make that adjustment? So it's just a plethora of different issues. And emphasizing that, in order to be at the optimal level, it takes two parents involved, both the mother and the father. One of the things that we always talk about is it takes a village to raise a child. Well, if you cut off the paternal side of the family or the maternal side of the family, paternal, you've reduced the village in half. So, we always want to talk about the village and how it is, but, we got to make sure that both halves of the village are helping raise their children in a positive, productive way.
That was quite the response. I appreciate it. I think there's, all of us up here are parents, and I think, when you think about when you bring that baby home and the anxiety and even just being a new parent and all of the different pieces that go into, like you said, sleep. And, I had to educate myself. I mean, all of us did, especially that first one,
Exactly. And that's what I say, sometimes we think we're experts, but if we've never been a dad before, right? And we have people that come into the county for services who are having a child who's never held a child before. So they have no idea about shaken baby syndrome. They don't have no anything about, it sounds like something that would be a simple process, but, when you get to the root causes of some of the things that happen, it's what we know and what we don't know. So that's part of this whole process, the whole process as well.
Do you know, and this will be my last question, when we think about reentry programming and a lot of these dads that maybe are coming through a non-traditional path, we'll use that, is there, if you're in the judicial system, are there requirements from judges to say, part of you getting back on your feet is completing this particular course? Or is that something that we mandate across the county, or is this more of a as needed or case by case?
I think, no, that's a real situation. We have a number of different programs, for our Fathers and Families Together program and our program at Murders Taylor are parenting classes, fatherhood parenting classes. One's called 24/7 Dads. There's another one called Father's Responsibility. A lot of times when the courts, someone's on probation, they'll want the father just to go to a parenting class, go to an accredited parenting class, come back and with a certificate or something to sign that said you completed this parenting class. And that happens not only through the judicial system, but that also happens through Department of Children and Family Services. Sometime when they're trying to reunify a child, say with the father, something's happened to the mom, they want him as part of the case plan to go through a parenting class. So you raise a valid point. Sometimes, yeah, once again, it's just about giving knowledge on, how it is. And I hate to go on, but for example, we just finished finishing a video called "Parenting in Separate Households." How do you effectively parent in two? It's hard enough parenting in one household, right? But you're parenting in two households. How do you work together in two households? You consistent. With phones. Do what are you going to do in terms of bedtimes and all that kind of thing? How do you work consistently, when kids in their two-parent households? And one of the things is that in Cuyahoga County, if you're getting a divorce, you can't get a divorce unless you go through a parenting class. Send you someplace for the weekend to go to a parenting class. But we don't have a parenting class for never married parents, right? So they're just like, okay, let's just dive in and do it. So I just say that to point out just some of the intricacies that's involved in the kind of work we do. I mean, sometimes it's not all about, it's not about jobs, it's not about child support, it's about, how do people become better parents.
Thank you for that. I appreciate the commentary there. This is mission critical work that you're doing here. At least that's my opinion of it. So, and seeing, some of the impact of this. I remember when I was working on my dissertation, I talked about family engagement with the process and what it looks like in terms of outcomes with young people. And they kind of call it the triangle: school, home, community. And if one of those pieces isn't intact, 10% decline in outcomes for young people. But if two of them are missing, it drops about 80% in terms of, young people and their ability to be successful in the workforce, college, whatever that looks like. So again, this is really critical stuff you're doing. So thank you again. And thank you for the dialogue and humoring me today.
Thank you so much.
Councilman Castleberry.
Thank you, Ms. Conwell, appreciate it. I just want to thank you for being here today. I agree with what Councilman Schlepper said about being critical work. And I'm just making a comment, really. I want to thank you for, you lay out a lot of these scenarios that sometimes we don't think of or we take for granted, as far as you're saying, going through these parenting classes just to get divorced. Now add in the people that have never been married. So I really like the idea of what you're doing in educating these young fathers and people that are kind of just thrown into the fire. All of a sudden you have a baby, you don't know. Like you said, you may have never held one before. So it's really important work. There's always changes. I think even from the time I had kids to grandkids, they're talking about, it seems like they always change how the child should sleep or what crib is appropriate. There's a lot of things that it takes somebody. You need to learn that stuff. It's hard to just, learn on the fly. So appreciate that work. I've, even when I was councilman, going back, I was looking up real quick, back to 2012, I was proud to sponsor the resolution to support the Father's Walk initiative. We did that in Parma. It was a countywide initiative. So I was always glad to be a part of that, and I'm glad to continue that work. So thank you for what you do. Appreciate you being here today.
Councilman Sweeney.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Director, how are you?
Hi, good to see you.
It's always a pleasure. You got me reflecting way back when fatherhood was not as highlighted. And then Peter Lawson Jones comes in, then Kevin Cruncher Conwell comes in, and it gets highlighted, gets some focus on it, and then it falls in your lap to do the work that is so important. And my thoughts are, you're talking about the data points and all to me, it's that one moment in time where a father reunites with their child, and the child and the father's life are changed forever. And that's the real bonus of this. And you're the perfect person for it. You get all the kudos, but you just care. And you just work hard, and you have the results right in front of you. But the one question is, how does this split up? I mean, it's probably to Marco. 83 cents and 67 cents and 04 cents.
Yeah,
And it's not a round number on the top, so I'm just curious how.
yeah, what we did was, we tried to keep, when we had a budget reduction, we tried to keep the percentages of the contracts the same for each of the organizations. So no one missed out any more than any other. We didn't penalize one. And so when you split the money up, and make that, when you make the reduction from the budget and you split the dollars up, that comes up to the total amount. I mean, we could have rounded out some things,
Oh, no,
but we did. That's how that came up, to the total amount of money that was in the budget.
That was a perfect explanation, and seeing the $97,667.15. It started not as a round number.
Yes.
And you
yes.
just did, you treat everybody righteous, and you did it fair, and do what you can with what you got, right?
Yep.
Well, keep up the great work. I'm very happy that you're the person that's in this spotlight, or this spot. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Without any further questions, I'll make a motion to move R2025-0340 to the full council under second reading suspension.
Thank you.
Is there a
Second.
second? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
December 9th is our last day. so-
Yes, thank you.
See you later, Director.
Resolution 2025-0341, authorizing a contract with United Way of Greater Cleveland in the amount not to exceed $2,034,158 for fiscal agent services and emergency food purchase assistance by hunger centers serving eligible Cuyahoga County residents for the period January 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2027.
Good afternoon, Marcos Cortez again. United Way of Greater Cleveland serves as the fiscal agent to perform administrative duties related to the distribution, monitoring, and oversight of the Cuyahoga County funds to meet the emergency food needs in the county. Through these funds, the Hunger Network, on behalf of the 30-plus affiliated hunger centers, purchases food and non-food hygiene items directly from the Greater Cleveland Food Bank. The food bank ensures that there is a diverse inventory of food that meets community needs, preferences, and cultural values. The Food Bank and the Hunger Network also conduct annual Hunger Center site visits to ensure compliance with food safety and non-discrimination requirements. And finally, United Way is responsible for providing administrative oversight of county funds, ensuring ongoing evaluation of the success and accurate reporting of outcomes. We have several representatives here from the Hunger Network, from United Way, and from the Food Bank.
Thank you. Marcos, question. So I don't keep up with the little few dollars in terms of for the contracts. This looks a little more than what we normally give, or?
It's actually less. It's about 100,000 annually, 200,000 less.
200,000 less.
Here.
I know, but is that due to the budget?
Yes, but we had made cuts through almost all of our programs.
Right, I'd invite Jennifer Johnson up. Hi, Director, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
Can you just share with this committee, I know you were before us not too long ago, and we had the SNAP and the close of the government shutdown. Where's Hunger Network at today?
Well, we did see a really increased rise. It seems like with the SNAP benefits being reinstated, that we the need has slightly tapered off compared to where it was before, but we're still seeing more and more customers as they come to Midtown Market and all of our other sites as well. We've been mobilizing volunteers in the community, being a part of the hunger response team through the county. I think there were about 106 or more slots that were filled by needed volunteers just to get the excess food into the community. I did want to make a couple corrections to the minutes, if I may. Madam President, my first name is Julie Johnson from Hunger Network, and then also Mr. Marcos Cortez had stated 30-plus hunger centers. If you recall, we had to amend that amount as we moved sites that lost FEMA funding onto the county contract. So we do have more than that. I believe the number is 52? 51. My hunger relief director in the background there confirmed that. So it's 51, and then the remaining 19 are hot meal sites. One is actually a pantry that is still on the money we lost through FEMA, which was funded through ARPA funding earlier by county council through the funds in the amount of $80,000, and that is the Cleveland Kosher Food Pantry, because they have kosher product needs that are not able to be supplied regularly through the Greater Cleveland Food Bank, although they do their best to do that.
The total, I guess, going forward, the total annual cuts from FEMA is 80,000.
No, actually, it was about $110,000 from what we'd received in the previous fiscal year. So there were no funds awarded through FEMA with the freeze for all of 2025. And graciously, council allocated us an $80,000 bridge funding. But that funding, as you know, will run out in March of 2026.
So I think when we had conversations, council had conversations with you, you were going to try to refill that with grants or something moving forward, or will FEMA
We are not, we are not anticipating at this time. We've not heard any news that FEMA will be reinstated. So we're moving forward with the assumption that it's our burden to fill that financial gap. And so we are doing so with seeking additional grant funding sources and working with our donors, trying to get more publicity and more information about the need, the growing need in the county out to the community in hopes of response.
Okay, and those FEMA dollars, because I know we have kind of like a partnership between you and Food Bank. So those FEMA dollars came directly to Hunger Network?
Yes, we had to expend the funds first, and then we had to submit for reimbursements, yes.
Any questions for Director Johnson? Councilman Schlepper?
Good afternoon, Director.
Good
Thank you for being here today. Through the chair, I just had a question about the process in terms of collaboration. So when I think about the entities that we have that are providing these services between the food bank, the United Way, and these hunger centers, can you just kind of broadly describe what that collaborative process looks like? How do you engage with each other as entities and organizations to provide services?
Sure. Well, we overlap in several of the areas I think we detailed in the presentation that we did a few weeks ago, but most significantly with the Cuyahoga County contract. The food bank is the provider of all of the food. They're the warehouse that has the larger purchasing power. That allows the county dollars that are granted to us to go much further for purchases at the Greater Cleveland Food Bank. So we do expend those funds there. In addition to that, the food bank also offers a lot of free products as well. And we also added hygiene items. So the allocations are made from Hunger Network to a Hunger Network Hunger Center, which are also, many of them are also members of the Greater Cleveland Food Bank. And then they're allowed to spend that allocation at the Greater Cleveland Food Bank each month. If they exceed the allocation, Hunger Network covers the bill to the food bank, and then we seek reimbursement from the pantry when they're able to fund that. And if they're not able to immediately pay back the amount of money that they overexpended, we allow them to do some sort of a payment plan, or in other cases, we've actually had additional donations that have been granted to Hunger Network, and we've been able to offset shortfalls in that manner. And oftentimes, the food bank has also forgiven some of those funding overspendages too.
Great, thank you. The allocation, how are those allocation, I guess the dollars, how are they identified? Is it just based on need for each hunger center, or what is that going to look like?
We actually just reconfigured that a little bit this year. So I would ask Emma Messett, our Hunger Relief Director, to approach and provide an answer for that question.
Proud of that matrix. So yes, across the network.
Amber, if you can state your name
I'm
for the
a Messet,
record.
Hunger
Thank you.
Network. There are a vast array of different types of sites. So we have a 100-year-old church basement comparatively to May Dugan Center's brand new renovation. So how are we determining who gets what in a monthly basis? The two major things we're looking at are external resources. So every year when we're going out on those site visits, we're asking about external resources that sites have. A lot of sites will intentionally overspend because they know they have private support and other grant sources that fund them, so then they can pay for excess beyond the county allocation. So some places will say, we have nothing. We have not a dollar over what you allocate from the county in a month. So we consider that. And then the primary factor, though, is based on service numbers and the number of households that are served in a month. Looking at both households and individuals served, because that's not always the same, but there is a matrix formula so then all of our dollars allocated per household and per individual are within a range that's not drastically different from one site to the next. There's an average, and we try to stay within that average on a couple dollars either side for every site.
Thank you so much. It's funny, every time I chat with people, I'm wrapping up my first year on council, and people ask, how's it going? And I think this is a perfect example of when I say to them, everybody that I meet, every organization that I work with, everybody's so incredibly smart, talented, know what they're talking about, and leveraging the resources as much as they can. And I think what I'm finding is instances like this, there's trust, right? Where when I'm hearing this, I feel a sense of trust in the process and knowing that it's being handled and folks are being taken care of. So just on that tenet alone, thank you both for the work that you're doing. We really appreciate it. And then more broadly, from a county perspective, we're, very fortunate to partner with entities and organizations that do this work so effectively. So thank you again. Appreciate it.
All right. All right. I'd like to invite up, who's here for Greater Cleveland? Food Bank?
Ms. Bontrice Jones.
Okay. State your name for the record.
Good afternoon. Director Von Treese Jones with the Greater Cleveland Food Bank. Thank you all for allowing us to be here. The Food Bank has been in partnership with the Hunger Network for a really long time. We collaborate really well and have a lot of established relationships throughout the community. I would say that in this past month, due to the temporary hold on SNAP benefits and the government shutdown, we've seen a significant increase November of 24 through November of 25, year-over-year comparison. We've also seen nearly a 40% increase in the number of new households that had to access these services. And in addition, I would say just due to support such as this and other community support, we've been able to purchase enough product, and we distributed a record high of 6.4 million pounds of food just in the month of November alone. To Julie Johnson's point, we did see a slight reduction in accessing food services or hunger relief services through the network, really the week of between November 22nd and November 30th, when people were able to start accessing those benefits again. So this is a wonderful collaboration. I have a great deal of respect for Julie Johnson and Emma as well, and I send my regards from Kristen Rozoka and Jessica Morgan.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Ms. Jones? Everybody that
Thank you.
comes down is able to participate in committee, especially in the bad weather. No other questions for anyone? All right. Hearing none, I would like to move R20250341 to the full council under second reading suspension. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Conwell, seconded by Castleberry. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, ladies. All right, Madam Clerk, if you could read the last item into the record, please.
Resolution 2025-0342, making an award on requisition 15957 to various municipalities and providers in the total amount not to exceed $6,955,043.10 for the Community Social Services Program effective January 1st, 2026 through March 31st, 2028 for the various providers 1 through 32.
Marcos Cortez again with Health and Human Services on behalf of Senior and Adult Services. Again, this is a master contract for the Community Social Services Program for the period January 1st, 2026 to March 31st, 2028 in the amount of $6,955,043.10. The purpose of the Community Social Services Programs are for the senior centers and community organizations to provide high-quality services and innovative programming throughout Cuyahoga County. These services will be targeted to adults age 60 and over or age 18 to 59 with a disability, with an emphasis on effective engagement of those who might not otherwise participate in community activities or programming. These services provided include adult day service, adult development, transportation, meals, community outreach, senior service and innovative programming, and digital literacy for seniors and adults with disabilities in Cuyahoga County. We did issue an RFP for these services. We did get 36 responses and 32 contracts are being awarded.
Can you speak to the four that?
So the four that did not get approved, 3 of them were below our threshold scoring wise. 1 vendor was awarded, but after we made the award, they determined that they could not meet our requirements and withdrew.
Those insurance requirements?
It actually was reported requirements.
Bring up Ms. James. Welcome, good to see you. Just say Lifeline, don't go.
Right. I'm Daphne James, Division of Senior and Adult Services.
Okay, I was gonna ask Ms. James, due to the budget cycle of 26 to 27, there were some cuts
Correct.
from DSAS. How is that going to impact this master contract? Were they all cut similar to Director Grimes stated, or percentage-wise, or how did you guys determine?
Significance was placed on the services that were needed in the community with direct significance to the actual seniors, which would be food, the adult development, and transportation. So the majority, I first would like to say, even with the budget cuts, we still initiated like an almost close to 10% increase with the services, okay? We focused on those 3 priorities, and we looked at the providers that were providing those services and how well, and it wasn't based on who's the largest organization and who's the smallest, the impact that they had in the community. Overall, they weren't really massive cuts to any one provider. It was across the board and consistent.
I think my concern is the community centers that benefit from the funds, and I understand that the master contracts, we can help other people out and move funds around, but I felt that this budget cut was so severe that the county, since I've been here, since my tenure, was so severe. Some of as we were going through the budget cycle, some of the directors from the community centers had reached out to me in terms of asking what, they were already seeing an increase in services being needed before we even started the budget process, because I try to do a community preliminary. What are your needs? Are you seeing increases and things like that? So I am concerned because some of them, at that time, none of us knew, what the final would be.
If I can actually jump in here. Actually,
Yes.
this contract actually is more than the previous contract.
It's more.
It's a bit more, not a whole lot more, but it is more.
Okay. And where I'm getting at is some of those senior centers have or provide 5 days a week meals. Some do 3. And so I think that was their concerns were, if the funding was going to get cut in any way, how would they start having that informational conversations with the seniors? We won't be able to provide.
So there's a, oh God,
I'm
okay,
just,
so there's.
I'm just worried about our seniors.
No,
our
I
seniors out
understandably
there.
so. So there's a process when we go through this whole thing of how the funding is going to be allocated to each provider. We look at previous levels of service. Based on the funding that was allocated, they're either very close or it's a tad bit over more. They're not going to have to provide less services. One thing we also take into consideration as well, some of the municipalities are supported better than like a East End neighborhood or something like that. They have a different support system. But overall, this was a comparison across the board. I use historical data from 2 to 3 years on how they spent, how many units they delivered. So there's not a loss. And also understand, they're still in the process. It's not back to where it was pre-COVID. So they can have the projections, this is what we want to do. We want to bring it back, and some of them haven't. They're not doing bad, but they haven't gotten back to the pre-COVID numbers.
So that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions from my colleague? Councilman Schlepper.
Hi there, Director. Thank you so much for being here. I just had a general question about contract providers and how they kind of prioritize needs. So let's say, obviously food insecurity is very much a primary need, certainly now, and that would probably take precedence over something like digital literacy for seniors, right? How do they make those decisions in terms of prioritizing those services? Is that like an annual thing?
So based on the proposals, we only have one digital literacy provider, and that's specifically, and she is mobile, so she pretty much works within our other community centers and municipalities. So that's where that little pot goes to that provider, and she has her little traveling.
Is that Ashbury?
Yes, it is Ashbury, I'm sorry.
And then in other instances, again, through the chair, if there's a center and how they're being funded, I guess it's more of a broad question about how to prioritize the dollars that each provider is getting. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So when we issue the RFP, we list out the variety of services that we're looking for, and they'll respond, telling us what they can provide and what it's going to cost. So then we, determine if that's reasonable, what they're going to provide versus what they're asking us to reimburse them for.
To say, probably the last 2 RFPs, we received proposals.
Daphne, if
in
you
the
could
amount-
speak it directly into
I'm
the
sorry.
microphone.
We received $10 million in requests for funding with, a $3,000 or $4,000 pot, so yes. I'm sorry. It was over my paycheck somehow, with a $3.45 million budget, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
In terms of options, Ms. James, in speaking with the director and meeting with her prior to the budget cycle starting, more residents, I guess, need the options program, right? So there's still that waiting list.
So,
The options is not under
no,
Daphne's
it's
purview?
transitioning.
Yeah.
It's transitioning.
It's
so I can't-
transitioning.
Yeah, I can't answer to that now. I'm diving in it. I just gave Natasha and my transition plan, so I haven't delved into.
I'm ahead. Okay, so
Yeah.
we can skip that.
Slow down.
For now. All right. Any other questions of Marcos or, I don't know your title, director, I call everybody director up here.
No, no, actually, I'm the social program administrator at DSAF.
Director sounds better. Just call her Director James, it's okay.
Assistant staff.
All right, anything else you two would like to share? Right, so I'll make a motion to move R20250342 to the full council under second reading suspension. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Conwell, seconded by Sweeney. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all for coming out today. And I don't see anything good for the miscellaneous business. All right, this meeting is adjourned. See you next year.